There's my boy Virgil. He wants to ask y'all to do something.
Press the subscribe button and the notifications bell right below this video.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, folks. Please subscribe, like, and share. Hello, YouTube. I'm going to do a video on my little van. The previous videos, as you know, they no longer exist. And I want to do you a little update. I've owned this van now approximately 1 year. Actually, just in a couple of weeks, it'll be a year. And for those who are planning to live out in the provinces away from the major dealerships, this is probably a good ideal if you know a little bit of mechanical. And what the first thing you need to do before you make a purchase is actually find you a good mechanic. One that's familiar with these vehicles, especially with fuel injection, automatics, four-wheel drive units. Now this is a turbo unit also. The reason I say that, because if you buy one that's freshly assembled, more than likely you're going to experience some minor issues. And I can tell you some of the things that I have experienced, and this is nothing reflecting that it's a bad vehicle. Now the next step you need to make is find you a reliable assembler, the people that actually put these things back together, because when they come from Japan, they are butchered. They are chopped up, and they're pretty rough shape. Now getting all this metal back straight and everything is very important for a vehicle to look nice. Now keep in mind these assemblers do want to make money. And most of these vehicles will have between 150 to 200,000 kilometers on them. Now this one here had 173 on it. I put roughly 22,000 kilometers on it, so I got 195 now. And I'll tell you what I've done in the meantime. When I first received the vehicle, I had a vibration and noise in the front end. Well, naturally, the lower control arms were, they call them, I forgot what they got a term for them. Sorry about that. But that has your bottom ball joints on them and the bushings and so forth. I replaced those. And of course, the assembler that I purchased mine from actually reimbursed me because he considered it to be under the 30-day warranty. Then my next issue was I had a turbo to go out. Well, the assembler sends me a surplus turbo, and I have it installed, and he pays for the labor and everything. And excuse me, I'm getting ants on my legs. And it worked for approximately 2 kilometers. Then the assembler decides he wants the vehicle back to repair it himself. So we send it back to Cebu. I live in Negros, by the way. And he has a vehicle on the other side to put it on a rollback, I guess, or a vehicle that will carry the little van. And he keeps it for a couple of weeks, and he finds a good turbo. And he drives it because I told him about the vibration. Well, where he is in Cebu, his area, he can never get it up to speed to where the vibration was. So I received the van back, and I still have that darn vibration. So I decided to replace the front wheel bearings because I knew those had their cycle life. Well, that did not cure my problem, but it was a good investment because it was time. Those things are a wear item usually for about 150,000 kilometers, and it's done past the replacement time. And I replaced the brakes in the meantime too, It wasn't necessary, but I felt while everything was down, I'd go ahead and have new brakes. Now, I still have my vibration. And I drive this vehicle and keep complaining about the vibration. I'm getting these darn big red ants all over me. I'm sorry. Disturbing. In the meantime, I'm trying to give you a view of the van. Yeah, we use our vehicle, as you can see. Now, this is an automatic, all-wheel drive, turbo. Finally, one day, the vibration got worse. Now these units are like the previous surplus vehicles. They got a front drive line, and I had a universal joint bad, and I didn't know it because it has a carrier bearing. Well, it got bad enough it destroyed the carrier bearing, which is non-repairable. And also the U-joints on these vehicles are designed not to be replaced either, but they can be. You can buy the U-joints. In my case, it was useless because the carrier bearing could not be redone. And you cannot cut it off and weld in part of the shaft and make it straight, because it had to go up over the cross member. So I couldn't do a direct connection, which I would have done if there was clearance for it. So I had to find a driveline, which I got lucky. I couldn't get a new one, but I found a guy in Cebu who carried all these parts, all these surplus parts. And he sends me a driveline. I have it installed, and Lord and behold, my vibration went away. That was all good. But I still had a little noise on my side that was making me uncomfortable because I didn't know what it was. And it only would make the noise on a rough road. So I knew it had to be in suspension somewhere. So finally I take it to my mechanic. I said, we need to find this. So he disassembles the whole complete front end. Removes both struts, the springs and all that stuff, and stabilizer bars. And we found the noise. It's actually two different places. One of the stabilizers the hole had been watered out, where it previously had been replaced, and they didn't. The original probably was watered the hole out. And then the strut on my side, the top bushing, was wore plumb out. So I ordered me a set of struts, springs, and stabilizers. And guess what? She is silent now. And she drives wonderful. Now, be prepared to spend money on these. Get the best deal you can. And I tell you, I roughly spent about 30,000 pesos total for all the repairs and parts and so forth and labor. Maybe not that much, probably about 25,000. Because parts is not that expensive. I paid, I think it was 5,000 for the, it was 6,000 for the driveline, and another 6,000 for the, actually 6,300 for the front struts, springs, and stabilizers. And those were brand new, original equipment. And the front wheel bearings, I ended up spending about 5,000 worth of labor because they had to be pressed in and out. Suzuki uses a wide bearing. It's not two bearings that are easy to replace. It's a single bearing, and it's very wide, and it has to be pressed in and out. So that's overall cost. And And now the fuel mileage on these will vary depending on your driving habits and where you take it. On decent roads that's not too inclined, and if you can cruise and keep your RPM around 3 to 3.5, you can get 14 to 16 kilometers per liter. Now city driving, it's going to drop down to 10, maybe even 8. I've not had it in Cebu City, so more than likely when I do go, I probably will see 8 kilometers per liter. But here, when I hit the mountains, we're fully loaded with air conditioning, it will drop down to about 10. That's about the average, because we generally travel fully loaded, and there's a lot of hilly terrain, except when we go to Damageti. Then generally, there's only 2 to 4 people in it at that time, and I can get 14 to 16. I'm not complaining because I run the air conditioner full time. Now here locally, a lot of times it would be down close to 10 kilometers per liter, but I sit and idle with the air conditioner on quite often. So that's my fault. It's not the van's fault. But anyway, folks, hopefully you enjoy this. And it's a little bit of information for you. If you have any questions, just ask me. I'll do my best to answer. And thanks for viewing.